Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's video, I've got 4 game day snacks for you. These are easy to make, delicious, and don't worry if you're not a big football person or sports person, these are perfect for any time. So let's get into these recipes. First up, I made crab Rangoon crescents. I saw this on Instagram. The lady's name is Britt's Cooking, and as soon as I saw her make these, I knew I had to make them. I love crescent rolls, and I love any kind of appetizer using crescent rolls, and I also love crab Rangoons, and so I knew I had to make this. Let me show you how I put this together, and I'll of course have Britt's Instagram link down in the description box below for you. First up, we need some crab. Now, I'm using imitation crab. That's what Britt used, and that's usually what I find most restaurants here in the U.S. anyway use for crab rangoons is imitation crab, and it's a lot cheaper than real crab, but of course, if you want to use real crab, totally use that. It's your preference. We've got some sugar, garlic powder, onion powder, salt and pepper, cream cheese, and you do want to make sure that the cream cheese has been softened, some everything but the bagel seasoning. If you don't prefer this or you don't have it, you can totally skip that. You'll need some sweet chili sauce or something to dip your rangoons in. We've got some scallions, crescent rolls, and an egg. And I did have Britt's recipe. All right, let me show you how to make these. They're really easy. I've got the oven preheating to 375 degrees. In a bowl, I'm going to add in the softened cream cheese, and I just had the whipped cream cheese on hand, so that's what I'm going to use, but again, just use your preference. Next, we're going to add the chopped up crab as well as the chopped scallions. Next, I'm going to add the seasoning. So I'm going to add some salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and just a little tiny pinch of sugar. Now, I just eyeballed everything. I didn't measure it, but Britt's recipe does have measurements. So like I said, it'll be linked in the description box below for you. We're going to mix that until it's combined really well and then set that to the side. I've got a baking sheet here that I'm going to spray with some cooking spray. We're going to take our roll of crescent roll dough and separate them out into the little triangles. We're going to add a spoonful of that filling, and then there's no right or wrong way to do this. Basically, just want to surround the filling with the crescent roll. So as you can see here, I just laid it down at the bigger end and then folded the sides in, pinched the seams together until I have like a little pocket or a purse like this, and then that's it. I just kind of patted them down just a tiny little bit just to flatten it out just a little bit, but you don't have to do that. So next we're going to take an egg. I added just like maybe a tablespoon of water, whisk the egg really well. We're going to brush that all over the tops of the crescent rolls. And then I wasn't really sure about the everything but the bagel seasoning. I tried it once before, like a while ago. I didn't love it. So I only did that seasoning on half of the rangoons, and I did plain sesame seeds on the other half. Just use whatever you like or what you've got on hand. These are going to go into the preheated oven. They baked for about 13 to 15 minutes, just until the crescent roll dough is cooked all the way through and they're golden brown like this. And then to serve them up, just put them on a plate with the sweet chili sauce. And these were really good. I really enjoyed them. Now, obviously, the crescent rolls don't get anywhere near as crispy as like the wontons do in a crab rangoon. So if you're looking for that crunch, that's not going to be there, but these are so yummy. I loved the combination of the crescent roll dough with the filling and then that sweet chili sauce. It was yummy, and I wasn't sure about the everything but the bagel seasoning on top, but it was actually really good. I really enjoyed that. So I'll definitely make these again. If you like crab rangoons or crescent roll appetizers, I recommend you give this recipe a try. Now, before I get into this next recipe, just a quick little note. So when I share game day recipes or holiday recipes, snacks, appetizers, I try to do things that maybe are a little bit different than what you normally see. For example, around game day, a lot of times people will share like rotel dip or barbecue little Smokies or, ham and Swiss sliders or things like that. And there's nothing at all wrong with those. If you've been with me for a while, I love those. I've shared them before on my channel, but I also try to share either unique things like the crab Rangoon crescents or little tiny twists on like a rotel dip or little Smokies, just to give you something different, a new idea, something new to try. And that's the case with these little Smokies. I had a jar of apple butter in my fridge that I really needed to use up, and I was kind of looking for ways to use it, and I was also looking on Pinterest for game day recipes, again with little twists, and I saw these apple butter little Smokies, and I was like, perfect, perfect, perfect. So let me show you how to make these real quick. You just need a couple of ingredients, and this is, again, a good little twist on your traditional barbecue Smokies. First up, we've got some little Smokies. In my case, I'm using the Walmart brand. Doesn't really matter. You can use the beef, the cheddar, whatever flavor you prefer. You'll need some kind of barbecue sauce. I have this Famous Dave's Rich and Sassy on hand I need to use up, so I'm going to use that. And then apple butter. Now, all we're going to do, super easy, is we're going to add the little Smokies, the apple butter, and the barbecue sauce to a crock pot. Now, I did one package of Smokies just for us to have to snack on for a couple days, but this recipe is easily doubled or tripled, depending on how many people you've got coming over. So once we've got all of those ingredients added, I just placed a lid on this and turned it on high for 2 hours. You could also cook this on low for 4 to 6 hours. And I did go through halfway, and this is what it looked like. I gave it a stir and then, just let it cook for the remaining hour. Now, here's what they looked like when they were done, and these were yummy. Now, over all the years and so many times that I've made barbecue little Smokies and added grape jelly, I never thought, and maybe it sounds silly and simple, but I just never thought to try anything other than grape jelly. But this apple butter, it just gave it a yummy little, apple flavor. I think peach would also be really delicious. So, like, if you've got some peach jam to use up, I think that would be good in these Smokies. Next, I'm making it Philly cheesesteak dip. Now, I kind of combined a few different recipes and make my own little creation, but I will link one of the recipes in the description box below for you, and I'll also try to remember to type out the measurements that I used. Now, I did a half recipe making a 6-inch cast iron skillet, again, just to have for us to snack on and for a couple days. So if you want to do like a regular 8 or 9-inch cast iron skillet, I'd double the recipe. So here are the ingredients that I used. I've got shredded Parmesan cheese, shredded mozzarella cheese. I'm using some mushrooms. I'm going to chop those up. Minced garlic, green bell pepper, onion, sour cream, cream cheese, Worcestershire sauce, butter. And then for the steak part of the Philly cheesesteak dip. So with all the different recipes I saw people do many different things. I saw some people take like a ribeye or sirloin steak and cut that up, saute it. I saw some people use like the frozen Philly cheesesteak meat, like if you were doing sandwiches. And then I saw some recipes that called for like roast beef that you get from the deli and to chop that up. So I actually had some leftover steak. I just cooked up some New York strip steaks for us for dinner one night, and we had like 3/4 of a strip steak left over. So I'm just going to use that and chop it up, but just use whatever you can find on sale, whatever your preference is, whatever you've got on hand. Now, I'm using a cast iron skillet so that I can go from the stovetop to the oven, but you can do this in two separate, a skillet and a baking dish if you don't have cast iron. So I've got my skillet over medium heat. I'm going to add in the butter. Once the butter has melted, I'm going to add in the vegetables. So I'm going to add in the green bell pepper, the mushrooms, and the onions. Now, a lot of times the mushrooms aren't necessarily in Philly cheesesteaks, but we really like them in there, so I'm going to add them. I'm going to season that with a little salt and pepper and then give that a stir and just cook those for, maybe 3 to 5 minutes or so until they are soft and tender. I'm going to add in some minced garlic, give that a stir, and cook that for just about 30 seconds or a minute until you can really smell the garlic. Now for the steak. Now, like I mentioned, I'm using leftover steak, so I'm just adding it in at this point, and I'm going to cook it for a couple minutes until it's warm. You can do the same thing if you're using the deli roast beef, but if you're using like raw steak, of course you would want to make sure that you cook that all the way through. So next I'm adding the cream cheese and the sour cream. I'm going to give that a mix and then add in a few dashes of Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to mix that until it's well combined and then add in the shredded Parmesan cheese. And like I said, I just kind of combined recipes and slightly eyeballed everything. Just do things to your taste. You're in your kitchen. There's no Philly cheesesteak dip police. Just do what you like. So once I've got that mixed together, I'm going to sprinkle some shredded mozzarella cheese on top. And then at this point, this is ready to transfer to the oven. So I've got my oven preheated to 375 degrees. I baked this for about 20 minutes until it was bubbly and golden on top. This is what it looked like when it was done. I sprinkled it with some dried chives on top. That's what I had on hand. And this is good to serve out of the cast iron skillet. I would suggest covering the handle though. If you've got adults, most adults would know if you let them know, that it's warm, it would be fine. If you've got kiddos though, you might want to have an adult help them serve it. Now, most of the recipes that I saw for this said to serve it with baguette. And so that's what I initially did. But I remembered that one of the recipes suggested using a garlic and herb cracker. And I have these garlic herb Stacey's pita chips on hand. Yes. If you can find these roasted garlic pita chips or roasted garlic crackers or something like that, I would highly recommend it. Now, this dip is a rich dip with the sour cream and the not whipped cream, with the cream cheese. So it is a richer dip. It is delicious, but that roasted garlic flavor just paired so nicely with that dip. This was yummy. So good. Last but not least, we are finishing with a sweet treat. I'm making my mom's no-bake cookies. I'll have the recipe typed out below. I did have the recipe. These are perfect for game day. You can make them ahead of time. In fact, you pretty much need to make them ahead of time, and it doesn't require any baking. So let me show you the ingredients to make these. All right, first up, we've got milk. I've got oats, and I've seen different recipes that call for different kinds of oats. I always use the 5-minute oats, and they come out perfect every time. I've got some cocoa. This is unsweetened cocoa, plain granulated sugar, butter, vanilla extract, and that vanilla is optional. You don't have to use it. And then creamy peanut butter. Now, no-bake cookies. Quick note here. For years, I had issues with no-bakes, and I know I've heard other people say the same thing. Sometimes they came out really grainy, but a couple years or so ago, my dad told me to treat them like candy and slowly bring it up to heat. And ever since I've done that, they've come out perfect every time. So, these aren't hard necessarily, but there are a couple steps that you want to make sure you follow. So in this pot here, all I've done is I've added my butter, the sugar, cocoa powder, and milk. I'm going to turn that on medium heat, and I just kind of let it sit for a couple minutes until the butter starts to melt, and then I come through and give it a whisk. What we're going to do is we're going to bring this to a rolling boil. And again, you want to do this over medium heat. Be patient with it. Like I said, I used to get impatient and turn the heat up high, but then I had issues with them not turning out right. So just be patient. It should take maybe about 8 to 10 minutes for it to come up to a rolling boil. Once it's at a rolling boil, you want to boil it for 1 minute at that rolling boil. As soon as that 1 minute hits, and set a timer, tell Alexa to set a timer, whatever you have to do. But after that 1 minute, you want to turn the heat off, remove it from the heat, and then we're going to add in our peanut butter. I'm going to whisk that really well, and as you can see, the peanut butter just kind of melts right in. If you're adding the vanilla extract, add that at this point. Give that another whisk. And then we're going to add in our oats. Now, I like to do that with a wooden spoon. You'll see as you add the oats, it starts to thicken up and it gets a little too thick for the whisk. Now, you do want to kind of move a little quickly here because it does start to set up. What I've got here is some wax paper. I like to spoon these out onto the wax paper. You can also pour this into like a casserole dish, a glass casserole dish lined with wax paper, if you want more bars. So you're just going to let these sit and cool completely for a couple hours, and then that's it. You want to store these in an airtight container. I know they might not look like much. They're a little on the brown side, but these are delicious. They are so good. They have such a delicious chewiness and such a great peanut butter chocolate flavor. These are definitely family favorites. All right, that is it for today's video. I hope you liked this video. I hope you saw a recipe that you'd like to give a try. If you did like it, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.